Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Heisterkamp. I'm a solution architect working at GWS, and I want to present to you today the session with the title Inventory Visibility Add-in for Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. This one is an independent and highly scalable microservice that enables near real-time on-hand inventory tracking. But first of all, I want to thank you, the whole community, for voting for my session. Because of your votes, you make this happen. And I also want to thank the whole DynamicsCon/Dynamics user group team, Molly, James, Jake, and the whole team behind them. Thank you for making this event happen. You rock the community. Also, I want to mention that if you have any question or anything is unclear, please put your questions in the chat, and we will answer them, or I will answer them in a live Q&A after the presentation. With this, let's jump into my agenda. First of all, I want to tell you who am I. Then we have common scenarios of the inventory visibility add-in, then challenges of the solution or the current situation without the inventory visibility add-in. Then we transition into the solution overview, then how to set up, how to configure, how to use, and then some things to keep in mind. So let's start with me. I'm Paul Heisterkamp, as I told you previously. I'm working for GWS in Germany since 2009. I've started at the GWS, which is a Microsoft Gold partner, as an NAV developer. Then in 2011, I transitioned over to the AX world with training on AX 2012. Then in 2015, I was kind of promoted to a solution architect role. And in November 2018, I started blogging. The URL of my blog you can see under my headshot. There is msdinfo.wordpress.com. And for my community work, in my blog and also on other events, I earned the MVP award last year. And also we are closely working together with the Fast Track team from Microsoft. And for this tight collaboration in our implementation projects, I earned the Fast Track Recognized Solution Architect award 2 times. From a private manner here, I'm 36 years old. I have 2 lovely kids, 2 daughters. The older one is 4 and the younger one is 1 year old. Last week was the birthday, and at that time I was on parental leave. Yeah. So let's start into the content. The common scenarios of the inventory visibility add-in in our implementation projects are most likely web shops for B2B, so business to business, or B2C, business to customer, because in our project it is all about showing availability of items. So if a user of an end customer or an related business comes into the web shop and queries for an item, then they want to see if it is available or not. And so this one always asks F&O what availability, what on-hand inventory is present in F&O. And so this one is one of these scenarios. And another one is the integration of third-party or legacy systems, for example, order management solutions or stage rollouts. Stage rollouts in this scenario means that you have a subsidiary that is currently live in F&O and another subsidiary is not yet live, and you kind of consolidate the inventory or the on-hand information via the inventory visibility add-in. Without the visibility add-in, you would have to implement calls to F&O. Another common use case is, let's say, a Power App, where you want to show on-hand information, for example, for different warehouses, for different items, and so on. The challenges without the inventory visibility add-in is that if you're leveraging, so before we had the inventory visibility add-in, we were leveraging the data entities, the out-of-the-box data entities, to request the on-hand inventory information. The full name of the inventory of the data entity you will see down there, that it is invent warehouse inventory status on hand v2 entity, and you can query the on-hand information for different items, for different warehouses, for different inventory statuses via this entity via the OData protocol. And the OData protocol or requests, synchronous requests via the OData protocol to your ERP database will, of course, put pressure on the ERP database. And the pressure can cause, of course, delays in the ERP processing and cause slowness in your ERP processes. Also, the problem with OData is that it is subject to throttle. So if you put too much pressure, the client will see an HTTP status 429, which will mean the pressure is too high on the ERP side, and you should try again after some seconds or maybe also minutes. So this one is the problem of synchronous integration to the ERP system or the ERP database. The solution to these challenges is the inventory visibility add-in, because I will show you the solution overview of the inventory visibility add-in. You see at the very left side the AXDB, this is the ERP database, and you will also see the inventory visibility add-in. This one is an add-in you install via LCS, and this one will create a microservice that is used to, let's say, to receive the on-hand information and to put it in the Dataverse storage. So you're synchronizing from AXDB, from F&O, via a microservice, your inventory information to the Dataverse storage, and you will consume the inventory information via this add-in, so via this microservice, and this one will also only query information from Dataverse and not from F&O. So this will scale out the pressure for this kind of integration to Dataverse and reduce the pressure on the F&O database. The integration happens via a batch job on the F&O side. I will show you the details later on in my demo. So there is a recurring batch job that synchronizes the information over to Dataverse. And on the very right side, the configuration Power App is a Power App that is included in the whole Power Platform solution. And you can use this configuration Power App to configure the microservice or the behavior of the microservice. Mm-hmm. What is also shown here in the solution overview is the customer managed clients. You see Postman, you see a Power App, you see Flow, you see different VMs. I will put it that way, that you use Postman or Flow for testing the inventory visibility add-in. When it comes to a real-life implementation, you will have integrated API calls into your, let's say, web shops that consume the inventory visibility add-in. With that, we will jump to how to set up the inventory visibility add-in. The setup contains of 4 steps. You first have to set up a client ID and a secret in your Azure Active Directory. I show you where you can do this later on. Then you need to import or install an Power Platform / Dataverse solution. And after this, you install an add-in on LCS. And after this, you can set up the integration in F&O. With that, I want to jump into a demo. So I will stop the presentation here, bring up my VM. And first of all, I want to show you how you set up the client ID and secret. For this one, I will go to the Azure portal. In the Azure portal, you need to select your Azure Active Directory. Then you go to App Registration and you can create a new one, give it a meaningful name, select which kind of users or organizations can use it, and then simply register. I will not do this because I have done that before. This one is mine, the inventory visibility add-in. The important thing is the client ID. You need to note down this one here. The tenant ID is the tenant ID of your tenant, so this one is maybe well known. What you also need is a secret. You need to create a new one and then note down the value. After this one, you need a solution for a Power Platform solution. How you will get this one is described here in Microsoft Docs. It says that you should contact an email address and they will mail you or give access to this one, the package, deployer package. You can set up down here. This one is the install guide, how you install the package installer tool. And then you have to copy 2 files around. And then you have these SCM dev tools, the package deployer, and this one is a normal executable where you can hit continue. Then you need to log in, provide user information, username, and password. Then you need to acknowledge to the 2-factor authentication. And then you're ready to deploy this solution. I will not do that again because I've already done that. And then you will have a model-driven Power App in your Power Platform environment. And yeah, that's it. Afterwards, you need to install an add-in via LCS. This one is my LCS project. This is an internal use rights one, so this one is in tier 2 sandbox. And in this LCS environment, you need to have a linked Power Platform environment down here. This one is my Power Platform environment. It is called Kavete ALM Dev, and you can install the inventory visibility add-in with this button. If you click this one, you will see all not installed. Mine is installed, and you only have to provide, I think, the tenant ID, the app ID, and the secret. The last missing integration part I want to show you is the setup in F&O. So this one you will find under inventory management, and then inventory visibility, integration parameters. There you have to fill in an service endpoint. Where you find this service endpoint, I will show you in the next demo. And this one is the default value. If this is all set up, you are good to go to configure the add-in. This one I will show you first on a slide. So this one we saw before. So setup of the client ID, setup of the secret, Dataverse solution install, LCS add-in install, and set up and activate the integration. The next one is how to configure the inventory visibility add-in. As I showed you or told you before, there's an inventory visibility add-in Power App. This one got installed via the solution package deployer. And there you will set up some details of your inventory visibility add-ins, so the behavior of the microservice. How this works, I will show you in my next demo. Again, to my demo VM, I will go to the Power Apps Maker experience, select the right environment, in my case, Kavete ALM Dev. Then down here, you have the inventory visibility add-in. And there you have the configuration experience. Previously, I showed you how to configure the F&O side, and you need the service endpoint at the F&O side. If you need to pin it in, then you can click here, show endpoint. Here is the endpoint you should use with your Power Platform environment, and you can simply copy paste this one over. The next major thing is the product index hierarchy configuration. You can specify many index hierarchy sets. I use two kind of sets. The first one is the empty one. This means that I'm able to query my inventory on-hand information on the dimensions site and warehouse. So empty means site and warehouse is always included. And the second one is status ID. So I can also query the aggregated queries based on site, warehouse, and inventory status. The next setup is a data source setup. So you can also add more data sources, not only F&O, but you can also, for example, here is a POS data source where you can post measurements against via the API and also the IV, so the inventory visibility. This is a global data source, so this one you can use, for example, for those transition rollouts. Another feature is the calculated measurements. Here you can specify, as the name said, calculated measurements. So you can, this one is the measurement available quantity, and it is calculated by available physical from F&O plus inbound quantity from POS minus outbound quantity. How you see this one here in the API, I will show you in my next demo. The next ones here are the related to a feature here in feature management, the on-hand reservation. This is a soft reservation feature with offset functionality and also integration in F&O. But because in docs there is a statement that you should wait for version 10.022 for test this one. This one is in this demo and in this session out of scope. So I will not put more information in here of this 3 tabs. Okay, in my last demo, I realized that I haven't showed you how to activate the integration. If I'm going back, this one is the inventory visibility integration parameters, but there's also this inventory visibility integration. In this form, you are able to enable and disable the whole integration and to initialize via forced sync. Because I have already enabled this integration, and I do not want to break stuff here in my demo. I do not disable, but you can play with enable, disable in this form. If you're enabling the whole integration, you will find 2 new batch jobs in your batch job overview. I'm filtering for contains inventory. So this here is the initial push. So initially the F&O pushes all information to the Dataverse, and this one is the recurring batch job I mentioned previously. This one is, I think, set up for running once a minute, and so every inventory or on-hand information change will be synchronized to the Dataverse every 1 minute. Another thing to mention here, again in the configuration Power App, is the button up here, Update Configuration. So this one you would need to use if you change something to the core setup, so the product index hierarchy, the data source, or the calculated measurement, or any feature. Then you can click Update Configuration. Then you will need again the client ID, the tenant ID, and the client secret. Click Login, and then the microservice will update the Dataverse storage so that it is optimized based on your, for example, product index hierarchy that is optimized for your queries there. With that, I'm jumping back to my slide deck. So this was the how to configure. Now I want to show you how to use the inventory visibility add-in. I will use I will use Postman to show you how to use the inventory visibility add-in. The collection I'm using you can download as a starter or from docs.microsoft.com. I will show you where you will find the Postman collection. Previously, and also I've written a blog post about the inventory visibility, I think 2 or 3 months ago on the preview version. Currently, it is already in GA, the whole add-in. But there it was possible to use also Flow or Power Automate to query the inventory visibility add-in. Now with the GA versions, something has changed, and because of that, Flow or Power Automate is not longer possible. Also, I will show you that it is possible to query or use the API directly in the inventory visibility Power App. Yeah, but most of my demos are based on Postman. So let's start with this example. I will show you in my demo data the on-hand information of warehouse 203 and product 1, and then everything 0, and then also the presentation in the Postman collection. I will jump back to my VM. And first, I want to show you the inventory on-hand information in F&O. So I will go to the released products, then to the item 1000, and there you will see that at warehouse 3, I have 1000 in inventory status OK and 15 in inventory status blocked, which is blockered. If I'm querying this one via the Postman API, I first have to get a BIRA token. So this is all described in the docs page. Then I'm acquiring an access token. And now I show you the API based on group by status ID. And as you can see here, it returned that it has status blockiert 15 and status OK 1000. If I'm using a query up here with group by value empty, send this one over, so same item, same warehouse, then you will see that I have physical inventory 1015, available physical because this 15 is blocked, of 1000, and reserved physical also 15. When I'm now increasing those 15, let's say to 20, you will see 20. Okay, this will take. So, and now I'm going to inventory integration, and there you see that there are 2 records pending for this synchronization to Dataverse. So those change from 15 to 20 is not yet there. If I'm refreshing this one, there, it's gone. Now I'm querying again, grouped by status, send it over. So Now it is 20. The below thing hasn't changed, and also the group by nothing has changed to 20. What's also nice to know is that there is also the quotation issue quantity available, but yeah, if you have integration that is interested in this one, you will find it there. Next, I want to show you a blocking. So if I'm blocking some inventory from with inventory blocking, this gets also represented in the service. I'm blocking 25 on a specific location. This one, inventory status okay. Hit save. Now it is saved, and I'm now going to my integration. There's again. Yeah, now it's gone again. I query again without group values, so I'm expecting this one going up by 25 and available physical going down by 25. I selected the wrong warehouse. I think, yeah, it is at 1. So this is proof of the whole thing. So this is warehouse 3, location 11, inventory status okay, save. Now again, the visibility. It's 1 again. Let's see when it is getting synchronized over. So while this one is synchronizing, I can show you that I, for example, can change the location also simply to 1. Now I'm getting a completely different quantity set where the 25 from the mistake, from the previous mistake is included. And now back to this one. And now it should be synchronized here. Now it's gone. Now, you see, reserved physical is now 25 higher, and available physical is reduced, and you also see this ordered thing here. Next example is reservation via a sales order. So if you're doing a reservation here via a sales line, I'm creating a sales line for quantity 5. And then reserving this one automatically. Now waiting for the synchronization. So there it is. I'll send it again, and there you can see it is reduced again by 5, and reserved physical is now 50. So this one is okay. So going back to my presentation. I also had a demo for the additional data sources, but we are slightly running out of time, so I will only hit this shortly. So this one you can post also via the API, for example, via Postman. So you can post inbound, outbound, or you define your own fields, and then you calculate available quantity. In this case, this is an example for an, let's say, third-party post system. With this, I'm going to the things to keep in mind. The OData thing I told you before is subject to throttle, but also the APIs on the Power Platform has their request limits. If you have a Dynamics 365 Enterprise subscription, you have 100,000 requests included per 24 hours. If you exceed this limit, you have to pay for more. The thing you need to keep in mind here is that if you use the OData data entity, you are able to query many site warehouse combinations. With the inventory visibility API, you have one API called per site warehouse combination. The demo analytics via PPAC is, I will also skip. You can see graphs there that show you how many requests you've used in the last days or months, and there you need to calculate. So this will cost some money if you use if you heavily use the API. What you also keep in mind is reservation on location level does not work well. So if you use WHS3, so the warehouse management, then you will see problems with the current implementation of the add-in. The current version of the add-in is already GA, so general available. If you have, for example, quantity 1 in a sales order, then you see this quantity 1 also in the add-in. When you release to warehouse and then create the work, it will show you another quantity 1. So you have 2 reserved afterwards in the inventory visibility add-in. That will be fixed in the future, but currently this is a limitation. And if you use WHS solution, this is not that good. And there's more to come. If you've seen that there is a soft reservation or reservation feature currently in preview. So the GA version is there and you can use it, of course, but there is more to come, for example, reservation and also other features on the roadmap. With this, I want to say thank you for having me here at DynamicsCon. Thank you for organizing this awesome event. And I'm now open for your questions in our live Q&A.
Hi and welcome again to the live Q&A. There were some questions in the chat I want to now answer in detail. So the first one was from Jake. It was related to if we are already using this solution in our implementation projects, and the answer is not yet. First, because of the lack of the feature for the warehouse management enabled items. So we are most likely doing projects with warehouse management enabled items. So this one is not yet in the add-in, but Microsoft is working on that feature, and there is a rough timeline that it will be GA April next year, and preview, I think, long before. So this one is on the horizon, and we will implement it. And the next one is the licensing for the whole thing is not completely clear. As I mentioned in my things to keep in mind slide, on Microsoft Docs, there is a statement that 100,000 requests per 24 hours are included in Microsoft Dynamics Enterprise subscription. But as far as I know, if you purchase an F&O license, this one is not considered as a Dynamics 365 Enterprise subscription. So this one is a bit unclear what is included in an F&O license. And what's also unclear is how the API requests get calculated. So is the posting to the inventory visibility add-in, so when F&O changes something and it synchronizes over, is this also an API call, or is only the read operation an API call? And also, if we are comparing those integration with OData, most integrations of the OData endpoint reads all warehouses of an installation, let's say, and if you're having 10 warehouses, you can fetch all those 10 warehouses with one OData call. And if you're using this add-in, you need to do 10 calls. So yeah, so the licensing is a bit unclear, unfortunately, but in our implementation projects, we are considering this add-in because it gives us the ability to scale high throughput, high load requests out to another service and to do not have this pressure on the database. Here's another questions. What are the performance gains comparison F&O versus microservices in CPU load and latency terms? So CPU load is not visible to us, but in case of latency, it is perfect. So once the service is kind of warm, it answers right directly. How about item units? Does it support inventory versus sales units recalculation, especially pieces versus weight units? Yeah, what it does is technically it synchronizes over the inventory sum record, which is inventory units. So the quantities there are stored in inventory units, and so if you do want to recalculate this one in other units, you have to build this on your own, especially weight units. So what you're getting is quantities in inventory units. What would you use the add-in for, a website or something, or reporting? Our common use case is the integration of web shops, B2B and B2C, and also web shops that are used by the employees of our implementation customers, because they use web shops, for example, to implement better search algorithms for products or something like that. And in these web shops, they always want to see availability of items. And so this one can result in heavy load on the ERP and also result in throttling. And so this one we are able to scale out. And also we are using this add-in, or will use that add-in in transition scenarios where parts of the legacy ERP landscapes are all already in F&O and other parts not. And those other legacy old systems are posting their changes to the add-in. So the add-in is the consolidated point of all inventory information in the company. Then I have another point. The question is or was often that is the inventory visibility add-in the single point of truth for F&O and third-party application? And the answer is no, because it has some delay when doing the sync, and the problem is also that if you're having a third-party system that is requesting quantities, and at the same time in F&O there is a sales order and that gets preserved and released to warehouse and so on, the sales order in F&O will win because F&O does not query the inventory on hand from the add-in. So F&O still uses the internal data and does not care about the add-in. It only synchronizes the data out. There are some discussions ongoing to integrate this add-in also in F&O, but there's nothing confirmed. There's nothing official. That is only a brainstorming, let's say. Yeah, I think if you haven't have any additional questions, I want to thank the whole DynamicsCon team for organizing such an awesome event. Jake and John, you're the guys behind this event or the initiative. That's awesome. So thank you for having me here.